Welcome back, everyone. We are here today on this latest edition of the Sport Management and Leadership Series, and our guest today is Scott Garvis. Did I say it right?
Scott Jarvis. Yep.
Jarvis.
No worries. Yeah.
So,
Casey, I know I've been called much worse. So we're good.
So Scott has an interesting background. Wore many different hats over the years. So, Scott, why don't you just dive in and give a basic overview of where you've been, where you're at now, and anything you want to talk about.
Yeah. So I've been involved in athletic administration for 27 years now, which seems almost incredible. Had the opportunity right out of college to start coaching college football. So I actually did that for 4 years. And then I started my career in high school athletic administration at a very small school up in Northeast Iowa, MFL Marmac. For all you Kansas fans out there, home of Rafe LaFrentz. And then I had the opportunity to go to a much bigger school in Muscatine, Iowa. Had about 1,600 students. Served as athletic activities and assistant principal there. Also had the opportunity to go up to, I was a district AD up at Burnsville Egan Savage School District up in the Minnesota-Minneapolis area. Then I went out to a Eastside Catholic and was a senior director of athletics out there in Seattle, Washington. Then moved back to Iowa and was at Newton High School and then was at Ankeny Centennial, now back at Newton as an athletics coordinator, and kind of, but I'm doing a lot of other things too as far as consulting. I work with a company called Bound, speak to athletic directors and businesses all across the country on leadership, and have a couple of books that I've written now that I've been able to speak about too, which has been awesome. So my English teacher in high school would have never believed Scott Jarvis wrote a book ever.
So throughout your experience, actually, before we even get into that, what's the culture like in Iowa as far as athletics go at the high school level? Because I know different states have, different rules, regulations, school sizes, that sort of how they're structured,
Sure.
So what's Iowa like for people not familiar with the Midwest?
So Iowa, we have we're very unique. We have a girls high school athletic union, and we have an Iowa High School Athletic Association, which runs all of our boys sports, and then we have our girls union, which runs all of our girls sports, which is very unique. I think we're the only state in the United States that has two different associations that run our boys and girls sports. So everything's a little bit different. Now, those two associations have done a really good job of coordinating, like on our state track meet, state cross country. But, we've got, for boys basketball, we've always had 4 classes. On the girls side, we have 5. So everything's just a little bit different in some regards, which is very unique to Iowa. As far as the format is concerned for our state championships, we've got, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A. And then like for football, we've got like, A, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A. And then we also have 8-man football. But for most of our sports, we are in that class 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. On the girls' side, we've got 5 classes. Football just a few years ago went to 5 classes, or up to 5A for football, including our 8-man. So continue, just like every other state, we've got our issues and that we deal with at a statewide level. Which is probably not much different than any other state's issues that they're having. We continue to just try to grow our programming through the state of Iowa and provide our kids exceptional experiences so that we can truly use athletics, which I feel is like the intent of it in education-based athletics is to provide an opportunity for our kids to learn and grow through sport.
For anyone that's not familiar with those letters next to your name, CMAA,
yes,
talk about that for a minute, and then also your experience with the NI AAA and how that's helped you in your journey, and then also for anyone that's looking to break into high school athletic administration.
Yep. So CMAA is Certified Master Athletic Administrator. So through the NIAAA, there's a number of opportunities through certifications that you can actually get. Hold on just a second. Sorry, my dog's going crazy here. You can get different opportunities to engage with the NIAAA and give them, and earn certification. So RAA is a lot of college students actually get this, and that's you take some foundational courses through the NIAAA 501, 502, 503. Then they have what they call a certified athletic administrator, and you take you have those courses, those foundational courses. You add some of the leadership and some organizational courses, and then you do a project for your CAA, and then you can have a certified athletic administrator designation, and then a certified master athletic administrator. Again, you take more classes. I think that NIAAA has over 60 courses now that specifically are there to support and help ADs learn about this crazy world of high school athletic administration. But I will tell you, for me, the NIAAA has been instrumental throughout my career for me to learn and grow and to become better at what I do, learning best practices, having the opportunity. And we talked a little bit, before the show about John Sargamello in Florida. I've had the opportunity to meet athletic directors across the country that are doing amazing things for their schools, for their student athletes. And I continue to learn from all the people, not only from the NIAAA, got Phil and Rich and Becky, but just from athletic directors in the country that are doing absolutely amazing things for kids. So if you're looking at going into high school administration, you have to join the NIAAA. I mean, it's probably the best decision I ever made as far as my athletic administrative career, because I've learned so much. And I would tell you, at the end of the day, this industry is about continually getting better every single day. Just like we ask our athletes to do. We tell them to get better every day, but then we have to model that too. And and I would tell everybody this: in athletic administration, it's really easy to get bogged down with the management, the day-to-day grind of, making sure you have buses, making sure you have officials. But that leadership piece is so pivotal in creating your culture and your climate for your kids and your coaches. I would tell you that that's the one thing that I wish I would have been better at earlier in my career, is attacking those tough issues and leading versus managing my athletic department.
So just to pivot too real quick, let's talk about leadership, because I know you have a lot of leadership experience outside of the sports realm, speaking, doing some consulting work. You said you've written a book. What does that look like? When did you start stepping into leadership roles? And, were there any people that helped you along the journey via mentors or something? Something like that?
So that's a great question. And I would tell you, the one thing that I have learned, that being in the AD role can be a lonely job, because typically in your school district, you're the only one. If you're in a district that has multiple ADs, that's awesome. But I tell you that having a mentor for me was, again, one of those things that I couldn't do it without the people I've had in my life that have been either I've wanted to emulate and be like, and reached out to them. And I would tell all of you that are going through this program, reach out to people. I am available. If you want to be an athletic administrator, I love helping young athletic administrators get into the industry, making sure that they have the skill set that they need to get those type of positions. And I say that because I had so many people pour into me. And now I feel like, I've been in this game for a while now. I need to then now pay it forward and do that for other people. But through that mentoring process, I feel like you need to have some people above that you reach out to and can help you through those tough situations in athletic administration. But then I feel like you need to have some people, beside you, kind of going through that journey together. But then I'll say it's important to, people that are just starting or they are trying to get into the industry, because we need good people in this industry. It is probably one of the most important positions in a school as an AD. Probably the most visible administrator in your school district is an athletic director, because they're at every game, they're at every concert. Every kid probably knows who they are. All the coaches rely on them to get what they need. It's important that we have awesome people in those positions. So we need to attract, highly motivated, highly skilled people that love to grind every day, because that's what they need in that position. But that mentorship piece is so important. And I learned so many great things. One of my great mentors, it was Chuck Van Heck. And I started young AD. And I would tell you at that point, I was a manager, manager. I really did not learn what that leadership role looked like until I worked at Muscatine High School and got to work with Chuck Van Heck, was a longtime AD there, and he moved up to the principal role. And Chuck was an absolute legend in Muscatine. And he taught me so much in the 2 years that I got to work with him. But I was young and stupid. And I remember so many people telling me, well, you got big shoes to fill. And I, say as a young idiot, I'd be like, oh, well, Chuck wears 8.5, so I wear 10s. I can't even fit into his shoes. And people would look at me stupid. And I thought I was funny. But I learned so much from him and what it means to be a great AD. And super, grateful for him. And that didn't mean that he got on me sometimes and he got after me. But I hope that's because he saw the potential that I had, and he pushed me to be better. He pushed me to be a leader versus a manager.
That's a great distinction. Yeah. So talk about, I see your hat at the DNA of an AD. So let's get into that a little bit more about, what are some of the skills that go into not just being an AD, but, leadership roles, whether it be soft skills, technical, or even we talked about like professional development, things like this. So in your, years of wearing different hats, different roles, like what do you think are the most profound skills that are timeless, and also some skills today that are more relevant to the position of an AD?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things from my book that really stick out to me. There's so many things that you need to be a great leader. But I will tell you the number one thing, and this is, you truly have to love what you do, and you have to love, your coaches. You got to love your kids. And I so many people here, like I hear coaches or people say, well, if you love people, that's soft. You're being soft on them. I tell people all the time, loving somebody is maybe the toughest thing you'll ever do in your life. And making sure that they're excelling. Like I give people this all the time. I go, I love my kids, but that doesn't mean I don't get after them and tell them I expect more from them. I love my student athletes, but that doesn't mean that I let them act like fools up in the stands during games. I want them to be great sports. And I get out, I'm like, hey, we're not going to be like that. We're going to be loud, and we're going to be proud, and we're going to be positive. And that's my mantra with our kids for pushing sportsmanship. And I say that also because I think what I've really learned throughout my career is if you love something, you are going to do everything in your power to make sure that it's successful. And I relate that to parenting a lot. But I think that's probably true for everything that we do. If you truly love something, you're going to pour everything that you have into it. And I learned this from another great mentor. Being an athletic director is not a job. It is truly a lifestyle because you are on all the time. You are on call all the time. I don't know how many phone calls I got at 2 a.m. because the bus broke down 4 hours away from home, and we had to figure out how to get our kids home with a broken down bus. Or, on a weekend, there's an issue or a problem, or the fire alarm went off at the high school on Sunday at 2 a.m. and the police call you because you got to come and turn it off. There's so many things that you have to do as an AD, and you truly have to love what you do. And I think that goes back to, you have to create positive relationships. You have to be self-motivated. You truly have to have the ability to manage your own emotions, but then have the ability to manage that of others. Having that emotional intelligence is so important, and that self-awareness, and being able to, work with other people on completely different levels, and not be a cookie cutter coach. I always say, don't be a cookie cutter coach. You got to be so many different things to different people. You have to have integrity. Anything that you could think of that, that as a leader, I feel athletic directors have to have so many things to be a great leader in what they do. But again, at the end of the day, I truly feel like you just need to love on your kids, love on your coaches, love what you do. And at the end of the day, love doesn't mean that it's unicorns and rainbows. It means that there's tough stuff too.
Yeah. That's great. That's great advice, feedback, and guidance. I want to pivot real quick and talk about Bound. And you made this transition from, your years of experience as an AD to stepping into this world of name, image, likeness, NIL. And, talk about, how that came about, and some of your experiences with NIL.
Yeah. So NIL has, obviously we all seen how it's changed the college landscape. It's been incredible. And now we're starting to see, state after state now at the high school level, they're implementing NIL, policy into their state associations. So, and I would tell you, many of the states, and a great resource if you're looking at for NIL stuff, Dr. Scott Grant from Findlay University has some amazing stuff. And I don't know, Doc, if you've ever run across his stuff, but he's got some great NIL resources and materials. So I would tell you, if you really want to do a deep dive on NIL, he is a great resource. But I would tell you, here's my, I do believe that kids have kind of done this for a long time at the high school level. They might not have seen it as NIL, but there's tons of kids that have done, basketball camps for their schools. I've seen kids in the past that have, done social media posts because they just got a new pair of shoes from a store. But now it's revolved around policy. And unfortunately, I don't think we need to do a better job of educating kids on what NIL is, what it can be. It can be a great thing, but it also can cause you some issues where we have kids that are now across many states are being declared ineligible because they've signed NIL deals that violate their state's NIL policies and procedures. So I would tell everybody, make sure that, as an AD, it's important for me as a coach. It's important that we are telling our kids about this, talking to our coaches, talking to our student athletes, talking to our parents about what NIL is. And here are the ramifications. Here are the rules. Here are the regulations. Stay in, that box so that we don't have these young kids losing high school eligibility because they're not following. And every single state is different. And some are very vague and some are very detailed. But I would tell you, whatever state you're in, make sure that you know that rules and regulations to the letter of the law, so you're not dealing with those issues. I would tell you this too. I think this is really brought to the forefront that our kids need to learn more about that there's their own financial literacy and how important that is. How important marketing and branding is. So for high school kids, don't be putting dumb stuff on your social media accounts. It can come back to get you at some point. And we've seen that, hundreds and thousands of times across in today's society about people making poor decisions they put on social media, and you think you hit delete, but somebody screenshotted it, somebody saved it, and then 10 years later it's causing people issues. So how important it is to have integrity, to have all those skills that we need to have as a leader, goes right into being a great athlete too. And to have that image that people do want. So I feel like NIL is probably a precursor to for high school kids, it's a precursor to college. It's a precursor to life in finding the job that you want, because you're going to have to market and brand yourself, and you have to create, a name for yourself. You have to create an image for yourself. That's important in anything that we do, really, because if you want to be great at what you do, you have to create that, and you have to let people know who you are and what you stand for.
Yeah, that's great information. And I know NIL hasn't come down to the high school level yet fully, but I expect there would be some sort of domino effect in the near future.
Yeah, I think it was 27, and it might be more now. 27 states that have some sort of NIL policy now.
Yeah, which is, it's becoming more integrated as, we see student athletes change schools, and it's crazy. But I want to hop on. Good.
I was just going to say, I'm interested to see when the collective starts hitting high schools, and maybe it's already happened. But that could be something that will be an interesting kind of scenario to deal with for state associations if that does come to the forefront.
Oh, no, definitely. I wanted to share your little bit about what you do with Bound, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So talk about talk about how you started, how Bound got started, some of the inner workings of what you have going on within the organization, and how that also ties back into leadership and your experience.
So about 6 years ago, I met with Sam Schill, who was the CEO of Bound, and we were talking about how, he was just asking, what do athletic directors do? And I was basically telling him, here's all the things that I do. And I think a lot of people have the misconception. I hear this all the time. Oh, it must be fun to be an AD. All you have to do is watch games. And I was like, that's the fun part of my job, getting to see kids play. But anyway, we talked a little bit about this already. It's the management that can bog you down. So being more efficient and effective is what that whole Bound is all about. It's about saving you time. It's about using technology. It's about using AI to make your job more efficient, more effective, so that you can spend that time on the leadership. So Bound is a software that athletic directors can use, and it's basically taken everything that we do, from scheduling officials to contracts to transportation to game scheduling to finding game workers. Anything that you do on a daily basis lies within Bound, and has tools and software that allows you to do that more efficiently, effectively, and across everything that you do. For example, on a game night, game gets canceled, snowstorms coming through, and game gets canceled. So now as an AD, you've got to make sure you tell your concession people, tell all your ticket takers, your scoreboard, scorebook, the officials, the other school, the other coaches. Now through the Bound platform, everything's interconnected. So you hit the button to cancel, it sends all those people across all those different things that you need to put on a game. It sends them a message, text message, in-app notification, and email. Hey, game's canceled. It's been rescheduled to this date. It takes care of, your social media links get sent out automatically. It just takes care of a lot of things that were going to probably take you an hour to do. I always tell everybody all the time I hated canceling games because it cost me about 5-6 hours more work because of canceling games, rescheduling, getting everybody to work again. I hated canceling games, but this has made that more efficient. So Bound is truly a one-stop shop, a platform for athletic directors to basically run their athletic department all in one space and be able to communicate with coaches, communicate with kids, communicate with parents, have social media integration that automatically goes out when your coach puts in a score. So many different things that we're doing as athletic directors. I was talking to a former athletic director from Tulane, and he was at UNI, and he was actually our former Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union executive director. He came to one of my sessions one year, and he says, high school ADs are doing everything that a college AD does, but they have an entire staff to take care of all those different things that a high school AD is taking care of by themselves. On a much smaller scale, obviously, but they still have their hands in marketing and branding and social media and, organization, game management, event management. So all those things are done within that platform of Bound. So basically, through the relationship I made with Sam 6 years ago, we've been able to work together with a bunch of great ADs and some great IT and software developers to bring those two worlds together that probably kind of bash or sometimes, but have been able to get in the same roof and really create something that super proud of. And at the end of the day, for me, it's about helping athletic directors get to those things that are really important for us to do versus the day-to-day management of an athletic department.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great tools. I'll share that in the links below so everyone could check that out. But Scott, for for the audience that's watching, where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
Yep.
How can they get in touch with you? All of those things.
Yep. So I've got a website. It's just scottjarvisconsulting.com. You can go to the Bound website at lets.gobound.com. You can find all my books on Amazon. That's the DNA of an AD. I've got a couple other ones on athletic development and fundraising. So you can look up my name on Amazon, find the book. And I will say, if anybody reaches out to me, and my email is just scott.garvis@gobound.com, scott.jarvis@gobound.com. If you shoot me an email with your name and address, I will send you a free copy of the book if you'd like it.
Yeah, and I want to leave you with the last words to impart your wisdom of all your years of experience. So what can you tell graduate students or anyone trying to break into the industry? I know right now is a very competitive time, but what can young professionals do to separate themselves in terms of their backgrounds?
So I would say there's about a third of ADs leave the industry every year. So there's jobs open. You might have to move. You might have to go out of your geographic area, but there are AD positions all over the country every year. I will say to separate yourself, make sure you start building that network. LinkedIn has been amazing for me. I've met a ton of amazing people through LinkedIn. I've had tons of opportunities through LinkedIn. So if you're not on LinkedIn, I would create a profile and start connecting with people. I would tell you, don't be afraid to reach out to people and connect with them. You never know when a connection will lead to something else. And even though it might not be with them, the opportunity might not be with that connection, they are going to lead you to another place. Tell your story. Tell the story of why you got into this, why you're passionate about being, an athletic leader. I would tell you more than anything, your story, and we talked about NIL, your name, your image is all about your story and the story that you tell about why you want to do this. What's your why? What's your transformational purpose to wanting to be an athletic director? And I tell people all the time, my goal as an athletic leader is to be mission driven. It's to be a servant leader. And I want to inspire my coaches, my student athletes, everybody that I get to the opportunity to serve. I want to drive them to pursue excellence, and I want them to use their talents, use their skills to influence the lives, positively influence the lives of other people. Your passion has to come through if you want to separate yourself, and your work and your grind is what sets you apart. That's what's going to really drive you over. I feel like for ADs, for anybody who wants to be in a leadership position, you got to work your tail off to be great at anything. So, I mean, so many times I feel like we get into a position and a work and we're like, okay, I got it. Now I can coast. And the people that really excel are the people that keep driving and wanting to get better. They're always tackling new things. They're trying to find innovative ways to be better at what they do. And I tell people this all the time, ADs are the best thieves in the world. We steal great ideas and we make them our own. And that is so important. And that only comes through that, that networking, meeting people, reaching out to people, finding people that you want to like. So for me, it was like, I want to be like, the athletic director at the University of Iowa. I want to reach out to Gary Barta. I want to reach out to anybody that will have, when I was out in Seattle, reach out to the AD at the University of Washington, reach out to the AD at the University of Seattle. I learn something every time I have the opportunity to talk to somebody about athletics and leadership. I learn something every time. But I intentionally make sure that I'm pulling a nugget every time I go to a conference, every time I have the opportunity to talk to somebody. And I will tell you, the one thing I've learned as I've gotten older is that moments matter. The little things that you do make a difference, and that drive every day that you have to pursue excellence is what's going to drive you to success in whatever you do, whether that's athletic leadership, whether that's coach, whether that's a CEO of a business. That's what's going to make you and set you apart from others.
Awesome. Thanks for your words of wisdom, Scott. And thanks everyone for tuning in on this latest edition of the Sport Management Leadership Series. Talk to you soon.